day and time that our flesh is not going to do it, because I've said it before and I'll say it again, and the word says, it's not me saying it, it says we're not fighting against flesh and blood. We're fighting against principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, and they're out there doing their job, and they want us. They don't just want us, they want our kids, they want our loved ones, they want our grandkids. The adversary wants us all, and it's a day and time that's like, you can't have them. We got to stand in that gap and hold on to the Lord, and someone has to hold on. What I'm saying is that everybody can't let go. Someone has to hold on, and one person can stand for their entire family. One person, if you're rooted and you're grounded enough, you can stand for your entire family. And sometimes it seems like everybody's giving up. Why am I doing this? Why am I holding on? Nothing's happening. And it would make you think you'd want to let go, but you can't. You have to be that one that's rooted and grounded for everyone. And before you know it, you're going to see your entire family turn around. Where things are looking shaking, it's like, there's no way that this can turn around. It's not too hard for God, because there's nothing too hard for God. No matter what you're seeing, what you're going through, what your family's going through, what your loved one's going through, you take a stand for the Lord, and you're like, I'm standing and I'm holding on and I'm believing and I'm trusting you to do it. You're going to do it. You're going to turn around. Don't know how you're going to turn around. I don't even care how you're going to turn it around, but I know you're going to turn it around. But we cannot let go. We cannot let go. And I tell you, you will see God move in your life just from you standing. Just from you standing. Don't worry about what they're doing. Just worry about you being faithful, and He'll come through for you. He will come through just for you. So you have to be faithful, but you can't be half-stepping. Not faithful today and unfaithful tomorrow. You have to be faithful, holding on, being loving, be forgiving, being kind, just showing the joy of God within you, and being that example for Him, being real, not just when people are looking at you, but when no one's looking at you, when you're in the house all by yourself. Everything that you're doing, making sure that God is pleased with you. What you're watching on TV, what you're listening in your ear, what's coming out your mouth, if you're talking about people, with the conversations you're getting in, everything, making sure you're being totally true to God, and watch how He moves on your behalf. And like I said, it may not be for you. Maybe it's a child, maybe it's a friend, a parent, a co-worker, who knows? You could be your boss. You need a change in them and their attitude. But God will move on your behalf just because of you, not what they're doing, but because of what you're doing. But I do see God moving in the midst, and He's showed Himself to me time and time again, and He comes through, and He does things that just, daily in my week, that lets me know He sees all, knows all, He's there, He's alive, He's real. And we just got to believe in Him, and we just have to trust Him. So anyways, today I just want to talk about trusting God. It is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man. It is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in princesses. And here He's, when He's telling you that, and it's better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man. And when He's saying about princes, basically He's saying it's better to trust in the Lord than to trust in anybody. I don't care what position they have, what status they have, who they know, who they don't know. He's saying it's better to trust in Him. It is better to trust in Him. And that's where we lose it a lot of times, at when we see somebody that's someplace where we want to go, or something that we want, or something that they think they can share with us or give to us. A lot of times we start putting our confidence in that person, or someone that even says that they love us or care about us. Sometimes we put our trust and our confidence in them. And He's saying, it's better to trust in Him. Trust God. He'll send people your way, because I say a lot of times that sometimes God sends people your way, but He only sends them there for a season in your life. And you put all of your trust and confidence in them, and you lean on them, and they've supported you, and you just feel everything's going right, and then something comes up in their life they have to change. Maybe they've found another job, or they've got a better offer, or they got married and moved somewhere, or they had a child. Different things come in people's life that they have to leave you. And it's not because they don't believe in you no more, not because they don't love you, not because they don't trust you, not because they don't want to be there for you. It's because something happened in their life and they have to do something else, and they leave, and you feel like, what can I do now? because I've put all this time, all this energy. They were supposed to be there helping me. Now I don't know what I'm going to do, because you've put all your trust within a man, and you never put your trust in a man. Not only that, the fact the Lord could take him home. God could even take them home. People sometimes are out of your life not because they want to be out of your life. It's not always bad vibes or you've gotten arguments or disputes and they leave you. Sometimes things happen in their life. And so we have to look at the fact when the scripture says it's better to trust into the Lord and then trust in man. He said, put all your trust in me. Never put confidence in a person, because people can let you down time and time again. But if you put your trust in God, you'll never go wrong. Even within ourselves. We can't put all of our trust within ourselves, because we can have days that aren't going right, but then God pushes us. You ever have times you just feel like you just want to give up certain things, but God will just nudge you, or you open up the Bible and hit that scripture will come, or someone will come and say something to you and you're like, okay, I'll just hold on a little bit longer. He still pushes us at times when we want to let go. He's still pushing us. So even within ourselves, we can't put our total trust within ourselves, because truthfully in ourselves, we'd mess up. We do wrong, because he tells us we've all sinned, done wrong, So that's even in anything within life. So he said, don't even put all your trust within yourself. Put your trust in me, because there's going to be times that he's just going to carry us. Times that he does carry us, that I know, looking back in my life, I know that I wouldn't be here today without the grace of God, because I know there was a lot of times in misery and heartaches and hurts in my life that you just want to let go, but he's always held me so close. And even in the times when you felt like your heart was just torn up, he'd hold you so close and said, but I got you. I love you, through the years. And then looking back, I know for a fact, there's no doubt, I know that I am who I am and where I am, and I've held on only because of God, only because of him. So I know he's carried me in many, many times in my life when I felt that I couldn't walk, many times and you couldn't see what was going on, and he'd show you. Times you didn't know, and he just would let you know. So he's always been that person. So he is amazing. So we not, like I said, he said, don't put your trust in man, but we can't even put ourselves in our own self. And he even says with princes, and I think he says that because you can't trust kings or people in authority or people that has great positions, because a lot of times when we see people in spots, especially people that has it all going on, he's like, well, they must know what they're doing, because they have the wealth, they have this, they have all that, and everything looks great, and and they're loving the Lord, all this is great, so I can see what they're doing. We have to trust God, because just because God's taken them down a path and it happened to them that way, that does not mean it's going to happen to you that way, because God takes us down different avenues to get different places, as long as we're all connected to him. But we're different individuals. We're all different. That's one of the things. There's none of us here on this earth that you can't find two people that are exactly the same, even identical twins. There's something about them that's totally different. And I always found that to be amazing with God within itself. If you can't even trust God, if you look at the fact to say that how can, all these people here on this earth, and there's not two people that are alike. Even when you're drawing things or making things or trying to come up with different things, they start looking the same, because after you come up with the hair colors, the eye colors, and you have everything, it just seems like somebody there is looking, but it's so different. And that in itself, who can make us all completely different? And that's amazing. Even when you look at it like that, it's like as individuals, God created me. There's no one here on this earth like me. And he took time out to create me. He sees me, and I'm saying, when I say me, we can look at all of ourselves like that, but when we look in the mirror, we can say, God created me the way he wanted me to be. I'm unique in my own sense, and he loves me, and I'm all that because he's made me to be all that, and I'm blessed, and all these wonderful things, and whatever he wants me to do, no one can step in front of me to do it, and no one can take it from me, and no one can ever create me, because there's no one else like me. No matter how hard they try, no matter how much they try to duplicate, they can never make me. So if I look to him and follow him and constantly seek him out and say, God, do with my life as you want to do with it, it's going to be beyond blessed, because everything he creates is wonderful. But it's us that we try to do our own thing, and we get over here and then we're like, well, he didn't give me any talents, and he didn't do anything for me, and I don't have anything, and I don't know how to do this. And so many times I hear people down their self. They act like they have nothing going on with them. And if you say, well, but God created you. He created you. Do you think God doesn't just create, junk? He doesn't just throw out something and say, this is who, take. He took time to create us. We are so special within his eyes. So if he took time out to create us, there's something that's amazing within us. There's something that is amazing. And the thing about it, there's something that's amazing about us that no one else has. No one else has, only we have it. So in order to pull that out of us, we have to give our whole self back to God, because we may not see it. We may not see it, but there's something wonderful inside of us that only we can do what God wants us to do. And we're here for a special reason here in this earth. We weren't just put here this day and time, this season, just to be thrown here because he had no place else to put us. We were here to do something awesome. And I do believe it was to help to build his kingdom up. But with that, we're here. He can bless us this day and this time within our season if we allow him to. But we'll never be able to do it within ourselves, because we don't know everything that's within inside of us. We don't know all the different talents. That's why a lot of times over the years, different things that we think we couldn't do, and God will show us, and he'll, I know with me, when he shows me something new within my life, I get happy, and it's like, wow, I didn't think I could do this, or I didn't even know I had that talent. I didn't know this. Certain things you would think when you look back that you would think, I wouldn't even think 10 years ago I would be here doing this or so forth, because we didn't realize it was in us. But God's like, I always knew it was in you. If you just, let go of the fear, you could have done it 10 years ago. You could have been here, 20 years ago, but you're afraid. And that's why he tells us, fear is not of God. Fear is not of God. A lot of times we don't step out to do something that God could take us and soar us to the top. But we're so afraid of what people are going to say. What if I say it wrong? What if I do it wrong? What if they laugh at me? What if they don't like me? What if they're not pleased with what I'm doing? We're worried about what people think about us. And in the end, they'd care less. When it's all said and done, when you've had your speech or your talent show or whatever that you wanted to do, that you were so afraid what people were going to say, when they go home, you're the last thing that's on their mind. If you mess up, they may laugh about it, they may talk about it, but that next day you're the last thing that's on their mind. They're into their life and their family, and we've given up so much that God has for us. And he's like, I could have taken you here. If you would have just done that, I had someone out there that wanted to, could have taken you to the next level. But you're too afraid to step out, because they're, again, worried about what man says. Worried about what man says, and man can't do but nothing for us. In the end, they can't do anything, because God will move people out of your way just for you. If someone's there trying to block you, God can move them out of your way. And it's like, I need to start getting to the point that we're just focusing on what God says. What do you have for me? What do you have for? What do you want me to do? That's what we need. Our prayer needs to be when we get up in the morning and have our prayer. Lord, what do you want me to do? Show me what's inside of me. Show me what it is. And a lot of times, I think in some of our cases, he's shown us what to do, and we just don't do it. We say, well, I'll wait until this, or I'll wait until that. And he's like, you need to do it. Now, how could, everything starts with small beginnings. If you don't start somewhere, you're never going to get to the next level. A lot of times we're waiting for that big platform. And he's like, you got to start here. Can't take you there until you at least start here. And we don't want to start until we get the big platform. And the big platform will never come, because we never took steps to go to the next level. That next door is never going to open up. Like I've used the example before, when you're going to a grocery store or something, and doors that swing open, or the mall, and those doors that swing open, as long as you're in the parking lot, those doors will stay shut. They're not going to open until you get close to them. Some doors don't even open until you get close to them. There's no reason for it to open way back there. And that even comes with even today when Keith was up here and he was talking about faith. A lot of things have to do with just believing, having faith to believe it's going to happen. If you have faith, you're going to step out and do some things. If you don't step out, there's no reason for the door to open. We want to see it. And when you're in this spiritual world, a lot of things you don't see until you step out and do it. We won't even invest in ourselves. We won't even take our money and invest in ourselves. But then we go around and we ask other people to invest in us. You can't believe in yourself with your money. Why is somebody else going to believe in you? If you can't take your last to put in yourself, why should somebody else take their money or their time and put in you if you're not even putting time into your own self? We have to start putting time within ourselves and stepping out with the things that get, no matter how crazy they may seem, if God told you to do it, step out and do it. No matter what, if one person shows up or two people show up, it doesn't matter, because sometimes you only need that one person to hear what you have to say to take you to the next level. You don't always need 50 people to support you. You can have one good investor can be enough, or you can have a whole room of 1,000 people. But when it was all said and done, if they all only gave you $1, you know, when your whole conference was done, all you had that supported or donated to you was that $1,000. If each person gave you $1, you could have one person to show up and give you $10,000. One person. But they liked hearing what you said and they wanted to invest into you. It's not about the numbers. It's about who's rooted and grounded in God, who can believe in you and who wants to walk with you, who believes in your vision and wants to go that extra mile with you, who can step out with you. And that's where, you know, we need to get to the point that God, just show me what you want me to do. I don't care what the people look like. It doesn't matter. If you think they should be a part of my life, then I'll allow them to be next to me. If you don't want them part of me, then keep them from me. But let God start moving in our life, because he's the one that can do it for us within our life. Blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord, and whose hope the Lord is. For he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, and that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit. Blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord. And here is saying, you know, that person that trusts in God, it says you're going to be like a tree that is planted by water, that the roots went out and it's always getting watered, always. It says it doesn't matter if there's drought, it doesn't matter what's happening. It can be a point every other tree's dying, there's no fruit coming on because the sun then scorched it and there's no rain any place, but that tree's roots went out into the river, and even when everything else is dying around you, everything's falling around you, companies are shutting down, you're still being blessed. You're still being blessed because it says it's rooted. You're rooted in the Lord. You're trusting in God, and it doesn't matter what's around you. And that's where, when you're looking at it, it's using as the tree as an example, because it's saying that tree's root has went out to the river, so it's always getting nourished. It's always getting nourished. No matter what's going around, it's constantly getting nourished. Everything else is dying. It said it's still yielding. It said there's a drought that's going on, but this tree is still yielding fruit. There's no other tree that fruit's coming on. Everything's dying around. You're looking around and it's like, man, you know, this is a bad year. It was no rain at all and everything's died. But this one tree that's standing there is still flourishing. And he says, if we trust in God, we're going to be like that. When companies are shutting down and people are getting laid off and no one knows what's happening, you look at the news and everything's going bad and so forth. It's like, it doesn't matter. I'm still trusting in God. It doesn't matter that I'm in this wicked world. I'm still trusting in God. It doesn't matter that everybody's acting crazy around me. I'm still trusting God. It doesn't matter that my company's shutting down. It doesn't matter that people are losing their homes. It doesn't matter what's going on, because God is still going to bless me in the midst of it all. I'm still being blessed because I'm rooted and grounded in him. And that's the thing we always have to need to know. No matter what's happening here on this earth, God is still in control. He is still in control. If there's no food, there's no nothing, God is still the same God that allowed manna to come. He's still the God that can feed you. He is still the God that can bless you when all companies are shutting down. He is still that God, and that's why he's saying trust him. Trust him. Don't worry about what's going on. Don't worry about what it looks like. He wants us to trust him. We lean a lot of times on what we think and what we see and how it looks like. And he says, you can't do that. You have to lean on him and trust in him. And just like he's talking about the tree, he's really talking about us. He says, as long as you're rooted and grounded in him, it doesn't matter what season comes. It doesn't matter what it looks like. He's saying he can still bless you. So you can't look at when people, you're working or you're out there and people are saying, well, this is happening. They're getting ready, you know, to shut down. They're getting ready to do this. They're getting ready to do that. It's like, it doesn't matter. I'm trusting in God. It ain't about this job. You can't put your trust in, because like he told you in the last scripture, he said, don't trust in man. So don't trust in that job that you have, thinking that this job is, you're going to be okay because this is the most blessed job here. And I got the best job here at the best company in the best office, and there's no way anything can go wrong. Something can go wrong because that company can shut down. Your boss could be doing great. The company could be doing great, and he decides that he wants to retire and sell the company. And now he sells the company and they want their own people in the company. You never messed up. The company didn't go bad, but they sold it. Now they want their own people in the company. That means you leave the company. Anything can happen. He said, don't trust man. Don't put your confidence in man because things look good and we feel I don't need God because I got it now. I finally got to where I want to be and everything's great. Things can happen and switch overnight. He says, do not put your trust in man. Put your trust in me. He said, if you put your trust in me, no matter what happens, you will be okay. No matter what happens, you will be okay. Because if something like that would happen, where a company, they were switching bosses and want to bring their people in, because you're rooted and grounded in the Word of God, He'll have it so when they come in, they find favor in you. Like, I'm not only not going to let you go, I want you to be my right-hand person. I've seen what you did for the last company. I want you here working with me. That's what God can do for you. He can do it, but nobody else can do it. Because He knows all and He sees all. And that's why He says, put your trust and your confidence in me. We have to trust God. It ain't a day and time that you can be trusting anybody. It's a time now that we only can trust God, because you don't know what's happening. You don't know what's happening the next day. And here I'm just giving you this scripture because a lot of times what we do when things don't go right within our life, we start looking at our past, or if God moves you someplace, because God does things differently than what other people do. And sometimes He'll take us someplace and we don't know why He took us there. But then after we get there and things don't look like it's going right because it's not happening quick enough for us, we want to go back to where we came from. And then we stop trusting in where He's taken us at, because we're looking back at how it, how great it looked from before, knowing that it wasn't that great. But now we start looking at it. So I just wanted to see this scripture, because there, when He was moving those people from slavery, they, when Moses was moving those people from slavery, they were complaining and stuff, and they were start remembering how great it was back there. Now, how great could have been? You were in slavery, but now all of a sudden they thinking it was so great back there. So just Exodus chapter 16, verse 2 and 3, it says, and the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, would to God we have died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full, for we have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. And they're saying, well, you could have just left us where we were. At least we did sit there and we got full. You could have just let us there and die. They're looking back. They're remembering their past, and they're forgetting how bad it was. They're forgetting how they got beat and how they were in slavery and how, people were totally in control of them. They forgot. All they knew at that moment, I'm hungry. So you should have just left me there. And sometimes when something goes wrong within your life, that day, or doesn't seem like, it's not always even going wrong. It wasn't even going wrong for them. They just feeling like at that moment they're hungry. And we know when we go on, He end up allowing manna to fall from heaven, because God was providing for them. They couldn't just trust Him to know, I didn't bring you this far to let you starve. And sometimes God's moving us places and we get at a moment and it looks bad at that moment. It's not bad. It just looks bad because we don't see what He's doing for us. So it's like, oh, you brought me here, but now I don't have a job. You could have just left me there. And He's like, well, just give me, a moment. You're going to get hired. This person's going to bring you here. But we just look at that right then and there where we are, and we start complaining. We start complaining right there. And when you're complaining, you're not even trusting what God's doing for you. And to look back, the last thing you want to do is to look back where He brought you from. Because if you're not careful, you can get back in that same spot and then wonder, how'd I get there? And it happens a whole lot of times. God will pull you from different things, different relationships, and a lot of different things. In bad relationships, and God will pull you from it. And then you're sitting there and you're lonely and you're miserable. And it's like, well, it wasn't that bad. Maybe I'll just go back there. Knowing that you were beat, knowing you were abused, knowing you were that, but you go back because you think it's better there than to wait and see what God's doing for you, because we never want to wait and see what God's doing for us. And we have to get to the point He's saying, trust me, if I'm moving you, let me keep moving you. The last thing you want to do is to go back to where He's pulled you from. You're going to have trials and relationships and things, no matter where you're at, who you're dealing with. Things are going to come up. But you trust God to know, this is where you placed me at. This is where I'm at. This is where I know even within my marriage, because when you get married, you have vows that you make unto the Lord. And you don't just make it to that person, but you make it unto God. And a vow, he talks about that when you make vows, he says, it's better to make these vows and make vows and break it. When people say that, because that's in Ecclesiastics, because he says when you break vows, he says He can destroy everything that you put your hands onto, because God don't like when you break vows. He believes in that. So He can come against that. So one of the things I know, and all marriages has their ups and downs, but one of the things that I always held on to when we'd have our ups and downs in our marriage, I'd always look to the Lord and I'd say, well, I know you put him in my life. I know you placed him in my life, so no matter how crazy it looks, I'm still going to stand here and I'm still going to hold on because I know you placed him in my life. And you always have to think back what took place within your life, because you have to see if God placed someone there, that they're there. And that's, not for me, but even, for Keith, the same sense. If he's having issues or anything, he can always look to God and say, well, I know God put her in my life. And if God put someone in your life, then it's something you work through with it. It's not something you let go and I'm going to go back to this, or I'm going to go there. I'm just going to let go. How can you do that if God's the one that put something together? If God placed things in your life, you hold on to it. You don't take it lightly because maybe he's taking you to a next level. Maybe it's just a trial. Maybe it's just something, but you don't let go. And as you especially don't let go of things that God is there. When God's in the midst of it, God sent him there to free the people. They knew what God did. I mean, it wasn't like that he just came and sent a man there, let them go. He showed them all the miracles even before they started moving, with the blood and with the frogs and with all the different things, killing the firstborn of all the, everything. They've seen so many things, and they're going to get there and say, it was better that you left me back there. How are you going to make a statement that you were better where you were? How can you think back? And that's where we get a lot of times. We look back. I shouldn't have did this. I shouldn't. How can you say that? When God does something, you never say, I should not have. I should not have. You can never say that when God's in the midst of it. You never, when you make when you get married, the one thing you should never say is, I should have never got married. Because you're not just saying it about that person, you're saying it about God too. Because you're saying at that moment, God wasn't a part of all this. And that's really tricky and dangerous things. And that's things that people did even within the Bible. A lot of times they let go because they didn't trust the God that they served. And that's why when you put your trust in God, it's not about you. It's not about your family. It's all about God. When I accepted God, when I got saved, my whole walk became about God. It didn't become about my husband or about my kids or about my mom or my dad. It became about God. So no matter what anyone does, I'm still standing where I'm standing because I made the vow and I made the commitment unto God. And that's where you have to get to the point. It ain't about you and somebody else. It's about you and God. You're standing right. You're being loving. You're being everything because of God. No matter how somebody else acts, you still act the same because it's a walk with you and God. Because in the end, you are facing God by yourself. When it's all said and done and I face my Maker, he's going to ask me, why'd you do this? I'm not going to be able to say, well, I treated my husband like that because he treated me. I didn't speak to him because he didn't speak to me. I didn't do this. Why didn't you? Just you. I'm going to have to answer me. Why'd you treat your kids like that? Well, they didn't listen to me. It doesn't matter. You had a role to be as a parent. It was for you. It didn't matter how they were. It was you. Why'd you treat your friends like that? Why was you like that? We have to answer. He says everything in our life is going to be flashed in front of us. We are accountable for every idle word that we say, everything that we do. We have to face our Maker and say why we did what we did. So it's an individual walk. We have to be the right way with God because it's you and God, not you and everybody else. It's you and God. At the end, it's you and God. You can't say because my husband went out there and robbed the bank because he told me to do it, so I was part of it too. He lied, so I lied too. We seen that with Ananias and Sapphira when we talked about that. They lied, they both died. That's the one time you don't get off track. Yes, you make the vow with them, you're committed to them, but they mess up, you don't mess up. But you still stay rooted and grounded in the Word. We have to be what God has called us to be, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So you never think back. You can never be like them and say, well, you should have left me there. I should have stayed here because you're not believing that God moved you where you're moving at. And that gets real tricky because as we keep reading, we see all the things that it came on to them. And God could say, okay, you want to go back to where you were? You don't believe I've taken you there? Okay, fine. Stay right where you are. Or go back to this. And then you never get all that he has for you because this is what we say. And you got to keep in mind that there's power within our words. There's power, so you can speak negative on your life, you can speak positive, and we definitely can speak life and death into things. So we want to make sure that all that we're saying are positive things and not speaking the negative things. And the same day, the evening was come, and he said unto them, let us pass over unto the other side. And when they had sent away the multitude, they took him even as he was in the ship. And there were also with him other little ships, and there arose a great storm, and of winds and waves that beat to the ship, so that it was now full. And he was in the hinder part of the ship, asleep on a pillow. And they awake him and said unto him, Master, carest not thou that we perish? And he arose and rebuked the wind and said unto the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. And he said unto them, Why art thou so fearful? How is it that they have no faith? And they feared exceedingly and said one to another, What manner of man is this, that even the winds and the sea obey him? And even here, they're saying, he's telling them, let's go to another side. You would think, Jesus is telling them, let's get in the boat and go to the other side. They're getting in, going to the other side, and then winds and stuff comes, and they're getting all fearful, and they're like, wake up, or you just going to let us perish, or you just going to let us die? And he's like, where's your faith? Where's your faith at? I'm telling you, we're going to get to the other side. One thing, if God's saying you're going to get to the other side, then you're getting to the other side. Why are you fearful in the midst of going to the other side when he's the one that said, let's get to the other side? It wasn't them that said, let's go to the other side. He said, let's get in the boat and go to the other side. So if he's saying, let's get in the boat and go to the other side, you can rest assured you're getting to the other side. And they're like, where's your faith at? You can't even believe that. Where is your faith at? And they're like, are you going to let us perish? And he tells, even the storm and the winds to just stop. But he's even in control of that. The seas, the winds, the storms, anything that takes place here, he is in control. If he tells the sun not to come up today, the sun's not coming up. Whatever he says, he is in control. That same God, that is in control of everything, he's in control of us. And he's saying, all I want you to do is just trust me. I want to take you someplace. You're not just born here this day and this time for nothing. There's some awesome things I want to do in your life. I want you can be able to bless people. You can be able to glorify me, and other people can get saved through you if you just allow me to walk your life out.